Good afternoon, everyone. This is Sarah Green with Creating Connections. We are live on ClearSource Radio, broadcasting from a hot and muggy Dallas-Fort Worth on a beautiful June afternoon. Wednesday afternoons at noon is my time slot, but you can catch the replay later if you don't catch all of the broadcasts today. I'm super excited about my show today because I am featuring someone who has recently come across my path, and I've learned a lot of amazing things from, and his story is beautiful and inspiring and just gorgeous in so many ways. I met Josh Hurley a couple of months ago. It was kind of a divinely orchestrated meeting, as these things are when it's people that are kind of meant to cross your path. And he was drawn to the work that I do at Heartlight. And if I'm being honest, which is what I do on my show, I was kind of in a place of judgment about what he does as a professional skateboarder and owner of a skateboard company. And, our paths crossed and kind of put us together because Josh has the same passion and heart for connecting and working with children that I do. He just uses a skateboard as his tool to do it. So he teaches skateboard lessons, and he's relatively pretty well known in our community for what he does. He's 36 years old, and I think he would tell you that he's better on a board now than ever. And a lot of it's because of some of the changes that he's made in his life and some of the shifts that he's made. Josh and his partner Clancy are co-owners of Now Skateboards. Their website is nowskateboards.com. If you're in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, Josh is available for private skateboarding lessons. You can find him on Facebook. But he's just, what they're doing with Now Skateboards is very, very cool. I'll let him talk a little bit later on in the show about what they're doing and how they're doing it and why. But what I love the most about Josh is what he's doing in his own life and the choices that he's made in his own life. And I'm going to let him talk about that. So Josh, are you with us?
Yeah.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good.
Is it
I'm
hot
enjoying
enough
the hot day.
Yeah, I was about to say, is it hot enough out here for you?
Yeah, it's always hot enough in Texas for me. It says it's only 93, but I don't agree with that whatsoever.
Is it already 93? Well, I guess it's noon. That's pretty typical. And it's not even August yet. Yeah.
Yeah, the humidity, I think it's about 103.
Yeah. So what does it feel like on a skateboard out on the concrete in July or August in the middle of the afternoon? Do you skate like at different times, try to avoid the heat, or do you just not care and you just go?
I skate when I have time off, so sometimes that's going to be during the day at 1 o'clock when the heat's bearing down. So it really doesn't matter. It's just whenever I have that moment that I can get free and do what I love to do.
Yeah.
Skating's my passion, so I make time for it whenever the time's available.
Right.
Heat is not a factor.
Okay.
Water is, though. You have to drink a lot of water.
Lots of water. And I've seen you at the skate park with your gallon jugs of water, your big old gallon jugs. So, yeah. How many gallons? I mean, is it one a day? Is it two? Does it depend?
Yeah, it depends. It depends on how much I get to skate.
Yeah.
I'll definitely drink a gallon of water a day, but some days it takes two.
Some days it takes two. Okay, so talk to me a little bit, if you want to, about just your history and growing up as a child, if you want, and if you don't, we can skip forward. But I think it's relative to how you connect with kids now. But talk to me about, if you want, your childhood, kind of how you grew up, a little bit of your background, and then we'll kind of work our way from there.
Yeah, so I've been skating 25 years. I found a skateboard when I was 11, and it was kind of wild. I watched my stepbrother push up and down the street on his board, just back and forth to his friend's house. and I just kind of saw something in transportation really that kind of get somewhere quicker than just walking. So that's kind of how I was introduced to a skateboard. My brother really, my stepbrother, was older than me, so I kind of looked up to the fact that, you know, he's older, and that's just what we do naturally, looking up to somebody that's an elder, if you will. But anyway, so I kind of jumped on his board and cruised around and just felt like I was free. I was able to control the skateboard, and you know, at 11 years old, you don't have much control over anything as far as something that can get you somewhere. So yeah, I couldn't drive anywhere, so
Right.
I kind of picked it up. Felt like it was just something that made me smile. So then I met a friend that lived a street over from me named Adam Almer, and I was cruising. I saw him cruising on a skateboard, and we kind of just started talking and became friends. And he showed me that a skateboard could come off the ground. You know, back then I'd never seen skate videos. I didn't know that a skateboard could come off the ground. And when I saw him ollie up a curb, I was infatuated. I was just like, what? Yeah, a skateboard's not supposed to come off the ground. I mean, you ask any normal person to walk up to a skateboard or a basketball on the ground and make it come off the ground, they're gonna pick the basketball up with their hand and go, I did it. You know, and they're definitely not gonna stand on a skateboard and make it come off the ground. So yeah, that kind of really threw me off and then intrigued me at the same time. And I 25 years later, I'm 36 years old now, and I can't get enough. It's just, it's something that gives me that feeling of success each time I learn a new trick. So that's how I was introduced to skateboarding. Then my parents found out that I loved it, and they decided, hey, we can make him listen if we ground him from his skateboard.
And so talk to me about the not listening.
Do what?
Talk to me about the not listening. So your parents used it as a tool, like a disciplinary tool. Were you, as a child, did you, get in trouble? Did you have trouble in school?
Yeah, my personality tends to be a little stubborn. So, knowing that at my age now, I can look back, and I definitely, as a father, I want to go back and act right for my mom, my stepdad, and do a few things differently. But then again, I wouldn't go back and change anything. It's the reason I am the man I am today. We all learn from mistakes and lessons in life, and to be able to look back and have no regrets, knowing that built me into what I am today is that's peaceful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so 11, found a skateboard, figured out you could get it off the ground, started messing around with doing some tricks, got super into it, and then, about what age were you when your parents started saying, we can kind of withhold this if you don't, what is it we call it in the South, get your act right?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, like my mom would get calls from school saying I wasn't in school. I was skipping school to go skate, and
Mm-hmm.
I'd be on the tennis court, or at lunch I'd be all in the trash cans and have kids in school sitting there kind of watching me do my thing, and that was something, I guess, when I started skipping school to go skate. So my mom really found out, hey, we gotta get this boy in line, and I went the wrong path early on in life. I started drinking heavily, smoking pot, doing drugs.
What age was
at
that?
the time.
How old were you when that kind of started?
Let's see. I started drinking probably when I was like 15, 16.
Okay. And we've talked, there's like a family history of addiction, correct?
Yeah, we're Irish. It's in my blood.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that my family tree. Come to find out, there's a lot of addiction that wasn't overcome. It's a choice, and some of us are born into a long history of that, so to speak. It's not really something that can't be chosen. However, influenced by that line, really can be put down in the generations. So yeah.
Okay. So 15 or 16 started kind of getting involved with alcohol, drugs, and that's something from what we've talked about that is somewhat prevalent in the skateboard scene at times. Am I correct?
Yeah, very true.
Which is why when we met, when you and I connected, over my work, and I told you this, and some judgment, and I kind of assumed you were a pothead, party or skateboard guy, because people see that, and they know it's prevalent in the scene. I wasn't aware that, and I've learned this now, that there are movements within the culture, because skateboarding, I've learned, is its own culture, and there's a huge ministry involved in that. So there's a lot of Christian groups, and then there's a movement of people involved in skateboarding that are sober and that don't make those choices. So I didn't know. So you've educated me on that. Yeah. So, okay. So 15 or 16, started partying a little bit or a lot bit, and then take me from there.
Okay. Yeah. So, I started, I got good really quick. Even my mom kind of freaked out at the fact that, I was here 16, 17, and I had friends that were 20 plus on a skateboard picking me up from the house, wanting to take me out to go skate. And she kind of, at first was kind of like, well, what's this 25-year-old guy wanting to take my son around? He's, not even of age to be an adult to make his own decisions. What's going on? And, it was really, I felt like I had a family outside of my family that understood me, that saw something in me and in my talent. I was really blessed to be able to get good quick on a skateboard. It's kind of maybe my drive. It's just I really want to succeed on my skateboard. I want to get that new trick, and I'm gonna focus all my energy and passion into progressing.
And
so I ended up kind of shocking my mom at the fact that I was real progressive at something, and that's kind of when she started learning she could take my board from me if I didn't act right.
Gotcha. And do you think, you talked about your being stubborn, and do you think that there are certain personality types that, in the skateboarding community or other sporting community that, we always say with our kids that, the behaviors that we can't stand the most in them when they're little are the things that are going to serve them best as adults. And I use that in my practice when I'm talking to parents, so your stubbornness as a child has served you because you're not going to quit until you get it.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a fact of life with me. I'm determined. I found out here recently in the past 5 years that I've got super strong will, and that's built on that drive to succeed on my skateboard. It's channeled into my adulthood. I quit drinking February 21st, 2011, over 5 years ago, and I made a choice for my son. I woke up one day, was getting him out of the crib, and something came over me. You know, I really felt this super strong energy. It was the spirit, and you know, it kind of let me know that the path I was on was destined for failure.
Okay, so you've told me this story, and I love it. And I think that I know that there's some people listening today that have struggled with, you know, addiction, primarily alcohol. I know there are people that are tuned in that are struggling with that. So I want to go back a little bit because you talked about, you know, you started drinking at 15 or 16. You drank really heavily. You went on tour, right? So you were pro. You were
Yeah,
skating all over the world, drinking, partying, the stereotype, right?
right,
Right, and having a great time. And then at some point, you got married,
right.
and then you had your son. And tell us about your son.
Well, my son's name's Joshua Flip Hurley.
Yeah.
Everybody calls him Flip. And you know, it fits with skateboarding. I definitely knew that, you know, me being a skateboarder and prominent in the scene, that everybody'd be like, "Oh, that's a really cool name," and it fit, you know. But the main reason that I named him Joshua Flip Hurley was a kind of a traditional thing. My real dad's grandfather is Gary Ronald Hurley, and he was the first male born in his generation, and then he named my real father Jamie Ronald Hurley, and then my parents, when they were together, named me Joshua Ronald Hurley. And I haven't had a relationship with my real father, probably due to his addictions.
Your biological father, right?
Yeah, my biological father.
Okay.
Real father, biological father. I don't know really what to call it with my situation.
Right, yeah.
He's up in Oklahoma somewhere, and you know, we just don't have that connection. You know, by choice. On his end, I believe it's you know, just a selfishness thing. I think you know, I don't know why he can't pick up the phone and call, but that's either near here nor there. You know, the simple fact was that when Flip was born, I named him Joshua Flip Hurley to flip that, to totally take this generation on down a new path. And that's what I did. And calling him Flip, you know, for a year and a half of the first part of his life, I was picking him up out of the crib that day, and something told me that if I didn't flip my choices in life with the alcohol, that I was going to flip my car, or that I wasn't going to be able to enjoy this son, just like my real father doesn't enjoy a relationship with me. And
So
I wasn't going to be that, you know. I wasn't going to continue that. I wasn't going to accept the lies and the fear of, oh, it's just in the bloodline. It's what the Hurleys do. No, I was going to be the change, and right now I'm sitting in the situation where I am the change, and that's Flip.
Right.
And so, you know, he's 7 now. Like I said, it took me a year and a half picking him up out of his crib, or calling him Flip every day to realize it was a flip in my life. And man, names are powerful, you know.
Names are powerful, and you know that's I do shamanic work in my practice, and so you know, and even people that I know, you know, that are very conservative Christians, you know, all across the world, no matter what your belief system is, we talk about, you know, generational curses or DNA or things that are passed down in bloodline, and most everybody in the world, every religion, every thought system, even if you're, you know, a scientist, you know, we talk about heart disease is hereditary and alcoholism is hereditary, you know, that there's something there. And so because you had told me this story about, you know, you just said, no, this one's different. I'm going to make this different
Yeah.
for my son. In Africa, they have these beautiful naming ceremonies or whatever because names are powerful. And I know you and I share the same belief about how powerful our words are and what we speak. So tell me in as much detail as you feel comfortable going into. I think the more the better, because this is a beautiful story, and it may, this is Clear Source Radio, so everybody that's listening has a pretty open mind here. And I've heard, I think, the story, and it's yours to tell, but I'd love to hear in as much detail as you're willing for you to describe exactly what happened. And you had told me it was February 21st, 2012 or 2011?
2011.
2011 was the day you decided, or was the last time you decided to have a drink. I guess that was the day before. But anyway, tell me.
Yeah, it was the day before.
Tell me what happened.
Yeah, it was just a normal day. Annie was at work, which is Flip's mom. We're now divorced. That's another story that I'll get into kind of right after the details of the day. But so I'm picking him up out of his crib, and I'm going about my day. She's at work. It was my day to watch Flip, and I'm picking him up, and I get halfway, from the bottom of the crib to my chest where I normally set him to kind of walk out and change his diaper and do the things that Dad does. And something stopped me. I got right up to my belly, and I couldn't move my arms. It was wild. There was a super weight on my arms that stopped me, and I kind of looked around and I was like, "Whoa, what's this?" And it was a voice. It was a voice of reason. It was a moment that I'd never experienced before, and it was wild.
And you were physically unable to move, right? You were frozen, like you couldn't.
Yeah, I was frozen. I tried to lift my arms and I couldn't, and this voice comes over me. And like, with deep concern, letting me know that I had a choice, and it was going to be a life-altering choice, and I was on a path of abusing alcohol to the point where something drastic was about to change, and the path was going to go right or left. It was going to be drastic, and I was at a point where I was drinking a 24-pack, 30-pack a night, and justifying it because I didn't, I waited till I got off work to drink. On my days off, I'd drink all day long. I was able to function in the world. I was a good father with a good spirit. I was all these things, and it was all this justification. But I was to the point where no one was in the car with me, so I would drink and drive. I'd go to the bar and I would hammer away until I could walk to the car and drive home. And I'm putting, other lives in jeopardy, and my own life, being a father, in jeopardy. That was the point where it was, I literally felt, and at that moment, I knew that if I didn't flip my life and decide to quit drinking, the Spirit was telling me that you're going to flip your car. And here I am holding my son named Flip in my hands. And it was astounding. It was a crazy moment to where I knew, no ifs, ands, or buts. If I didn't decide to quit drinking, I wasn't going to have my son in my life anymore. It was that prominent of a voice telling me, I'm here, this last opportunity for you. And I never had to do AA. I never had to go to meetings to pronounce my alcoholism or anything like that. I made a choice then and there to surrender it. I'm sitting here holding him. I'm frozen, and I scream out, like, literally. I said, I can't do this. You have to come in. You have to take this outside of my body, and you have to replace it. And you can do whatever you want. Whatever this is, this spirit that's telling you this right now can literally take over, yank it out, and fulfill whatever this is that you're calling me to do right now is all yours. You've got the power. I'll let you come in. And it was the spirit, and it was real. And here we are in 2016, over 5 years, and I've never had an urge to drink. I'm always around people that drink, and it's a choice, and it doesn't bother me one bit. My friends drink, my ex-wife drinks, it's just, it's a choice for some people that they don't have an issue like I had. But, those out there that are listening that are at that point where it's a burden on them, and they know that they're in deep, it's a spiritual battle. That's what it is. And my mom, everybody couldn't believe that I didn't need AA and I wasn't going to these meetings, and actually encouraged me to go after, a few months of finding out that I decided to quit drinking, and knowing how heavily I was drinking and just totally cut it off. Everybody encouraged me to go talk to somebody or get help. And I knew that I had made a choice, and I let the spirit take over. I literally pronounced with my voice that I can't do this. You have to do it. And I was able to, at that point, right when I said that, I was able to take my son, go change his diaper, and go on about my day. God, I'll never forget that day. It was really wild. It was awesome. And I'm a totally transformed person from that past.
And so, what do you attribute that voice to? I mean, was that God to you? Was it?
Oh yeah, that was definitely God, and he uses angels to do work and to kind of be a channel between the Creator and us, the creation. And I strongly believe that was an archangel, Raphael, that came in. He's known to be the angel of addiction, also of other things, of travel and of healing. So all three of those things really were in that moment. The addiction traveling out of me, the healing that I allowed and voice to come in and totally take over, that's healing. So yeah, that literally was the voice of, I believe, that angel, straight up.
So you feel like it was an angel speaking to you that was sent?
Oh yeah. It was, it was wild because the wall behind the crib, after I surrendered it, I saw these dark shadows just like trembling over the wall. It was weird. I took him and I changed his diaper, and I looked back over, and the wall was the normal color of what it was. But in that moment, when I let go, everything behind it was dark, and it was weird. It was like some shadows. It sounds crazy. I promise I wasn't on acid or anything like that. But it was a surreal moment.
And so, and that happened, what you basically, at its core, did something that's almost impossible for people to do. And then I believe is, almost nirvana. People talk about transcending and evolving and reaching nirvana, and all of those things are being enlightened. And I believe that you're in that place when you're able to be in total allowance and you're able to let go and let God. And when you tell me this story, I mean, that's what you did. You said, I can't do it. You got to do it. You have to just let it go and give it over. and believe in something greater than you can take it from you, and that's what you did. And so at that moment, you're saying you just kind of saw, did you have a physical sensation, or did you just kind of see this shadowy stuff kind of leaving the room?
Well, yeah, that was all like, it was visual at that point, but that physical sensation was my arm stopping and me going, whoa, what's this? And then that voice started, and literally told me what was about to happen. And it was going to be drastic either way. And another thing the voice told me is like, I really got held back by my choices in skateboarding. I've had a lot of people, like I went pro for Ninja back in 2008. It was around the time I had to shut down the skate park I was running out there in Roanoke. But I made it to the pro status. I haven't been that world traveler, that pro skateboarder, all up in magazines, just really world renowned. I'm more Texas known. United States knows me. I've traveled all over this country, but for me, looking back, I know that the choices of drugs and alcohol in my life really held me back from being something bigger, and as far as a name in skateboarding. But that's also changing now with the recent skateboard company that I've had the honor of starting with, Clancy Doherty. Here locally, we started Now Skateboards, which is going to go worldwide someday. We're building it. We actually launched it here in January. So it's relatively new to the area. We're in all the local skate shops around here, Index Skate Supply, Rhythm Skate Shop. We're even out up north in Fairview, which is up above Allen, in the Point Skate Shop. So we're competing on the walls with all the big name brands that, I've been growing and skateboarding 25 years and seeing these companies thrive. So.
Okay, so I want to go back to what you said. So you talked about, you realize now, looking back, that, by choosing to drink and use substances or whatever, that it held you back from being able to be what you possibly could have been. So, so you have awareness around that. But let's talk about the last 5 years. You quit drinking,
right.
And you gave that up. And I think when you told me this story, you said you were kind of shown that, you could either not be in your son's life, or you had all of these blessings waiting for you if you could make the choice.
Right.
So let's talk about what the last 5 years has looked like for you since you've quit, and go from there.
Well, yeah, I mean, ever since that day, I've man, my willpower is just super strong, kind of to be able to conquer, other things like pot, drugs, pills, you name it. I even quit smoking cigarettes a month and a day ago. I'll never smoke a cigarette again in my life. It's something, man, I smoked for 20 years, and I'm 36. Do the math. That's over half my life. So. I made the same decision when I did that. It's kind of funny. I actually made a deal with my son to quit on a Monday, which would have been the 22nd of last month, and he's having a few issues in school now that it's summer. We're out of school. He's out of school right now, but he struggled, year round last year in first grade with getting into fights and kind of not being able to keep his hands to himself. And I know that's his age. Kids are kids. He's 7, but I know that he's got the power to control it. So I kind of made a deal with him. I said, well, if you keep your hands to yourself next year in second grade, I'll quit smoking. And it's something that he's been asking me to do. So we made a deal, and I said, you know what, you're gonna screw up. I know you're growing, you're developing, and there's going to be times where you might screw up, but Daddy won't screw up. Daddy will quit smoking on Monday. And he kind of looked at me, and he was sincere about it. And he was like, well, Daddy, can you quit smoking on Sunday? Because I don't want you to forget on Monday. And I kind of laughed about it and thought nothing of it. And I was like, no, I'm quitting on Monday. But I ended up quitting Sunday on the 21st last month, right before the day I was going to, because I listened to my son, the sincerity in his voice, and I was like, he's got a point. And, not that I'm going to forget, but that it's now. It's now or never. So I flushed the last cigarette that I had in that pack down the toilet. I said, here it is. I'm giving it up, and ask the Spirit to help me out one more time. And just knowing what I did with drinking on that day, I did the same thing, and here we go. So I'm a non-smoker.
Yay! Congratulations.
Yeah.
You've talked.
So that's a gift, Just going back to what you were asking to kind of relay. 5 years later, I'm giving my son a gift. I'll be here a few more years in my lifetime, just because of that choice, and that's a gift to me and a gift to my son as well. So gifts they keep on giving.
Mhm. Mhm. And so, what else has So, you said that your marriage ended. So
yeah.
So which sometimes can feel like a tragedy, and I'm going through my own transformation in my relationship and kind of transition out of my marriage, and sometimes it can feel not so great, but then you get distance on it and you understand why you had to go through that. So do you want to talk about that?
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, kids will change your life. And I know for me, Annie and I met, we were the party animal type, we were the center of attention, and we actually met at a party. And years go by, and we have an awesome kid. We got married, had Flip, after we got married, and something changed in both of us. Really, we both were growing up as parents instead of growing up as the adults without parenthood. And everybody that doesn't have a kid won't quite understand that. But when you have a kid, everything, the focus goes from looking at your partner and deciding decisions based on your partnership. It totally transcends to, you look down at the kid now, and you're making decisions for a family based on your kid. And people grow and people change, and that's one thing that is inevitable. It's natural. We have to change. Time changes, everything changes. So it was something that it grew us up and grew us apart eventually. It was bittersweet for me. I came home one day and got some news that she had fallen in love with someone else, which was, it wasn't so much as I was thrown off about it. It was shocking. 8 years I had known this woman, and I felt like I wasn't good enough at that moment, but then quickly realized that I had changed as a person, and I almost felt like I allowed it to happen. But then you've got to look at the track history and just know that you've evolved into somebody different, and as far as I'm concerned, better. And I even heard those words come out of her mouth, and I can't believe I'm doing this. I think I've gone crazy. All these things that were coming out of her mouth were genuine and true, but she had feelings for someone else that she didn't have for me anymore. And I had to accept that as what it was. And for me, I transitioned into the accepting facts that I've grown, and I'm not that same party animal person anymore that we met as. And you know, as crazy as it sounds, the divorce was a gift to me. It was a gift to me to now be, you know, owning a skateboard company, and growing in my endeavors, and what I want to do in life. You know, I'm able to be in an aerial view almost, and just kind of seeing everything and placing everything where I want it, as opposed to being down in the muck and being like, why? You know, I'm more of an enabler now, to be able to enable things to happen the way I want them to happen, being clear-headed and all. So yeah, I went through those changes to know that it was growth, and it was a good part of my life. I've got a son that changed my life forever through that relationship. So yeah.
Yeah, and do you attribute that, you know, you talk about being in that aerial view, and I like that too, because that's a place where when I work, I try to stay, you know, when I'm in my office or I'm with clients, or I try to stay in this place where I'm looking at it from really high up and seeing the whole picture, because
right.
when you're down in it, you know, you can't, when you're in the muck, it's like quicksand, you can't get out. Do you attribute the clarity that you have now and being able to kind of be in that place and see things more clearly, do you attribute that clarity to just the fact that ending your relationship created space in your life for you to have, to where you weren't, and you know, it threw you out of your routine and you were able to kind of build a new routine and a new foundation? Or do you attribute that to just being chemical free and just, you know, living a life that's free from the things that would cloud your vision? Or is it both?
Yeah, well, no, I mean, you got to remember, she made a decision outside of a conversation. You know, it was so I you know, I relate it to the. It took a few years before that all unfolded for her to realize, and you know, it was crazy. She kept asking me, you know, when Flip gets older, you're more in control, you'll probably be able to drink again, right? And I was like, no. And you know, she can go out and she can drink, and you know, and be in control. Some people can't. I can't. I couldn't just go out and have a drink with dinner or whatever. You know, my personality won't let me. I have an addictive personality. I think every skateboarder has an addictive personality. You have to be able to fall over and over just to get that one trick, you know. But yeah, I think the clarity, sobriety, not having an altered state of mind really gives me that aerial view. You know, and I go through struggles every day, all day, especially starting this new company. You know, I'm working full time, doing the skateboard full time. You know, I share custody with the wife. I feel like I'm a full-time dad just because, you know, I'm with him even when I'm not with him. So yeah, I'm super busy. And if I had an altered state of mind right now, I feel like things would just collapse around me. But I can control things. I can stand up. My willpower is strong enough for me to be able to conquer the things that life throws at you every day. So yeah, it's definitely not having that altered state of mind that gives me the clarity, for sure.
Okay. And so then let's talk about the company, and let's talk about because I know from our conversations that's one of the things that you feel like, one of the gifts that you feel like that you've been given is the it's kind of been a dream of yours to start this company.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you know, I was skating at Roanoke Skate Park. Man, this was like last November around Thanksgiving time, and I saw this mom skating around the park, and her son just ripping. And I could tell he hadn't been skating long. He was skating a few months, I think, at that point, and he had a board that was like all razor-tailed out. We call it razor-tail because it was just an old skateboard that the tail was really short on. You could tell that someone else had used it and just gave it to him. and you know, I get boards hooked up to me through Index, gives me a real good discount. So I'm blessed to be able to always have a backup board in my trunk. So I went and grabbed a board out of my trunk and I gave it to his mom, Clancy. And I said, here, your son's going to be good. He's got to keep skating and he needs this board. And she kind of looked at me like, are you sure? And I'm riding a brand new board, you know, that's my backup board in the trunk. So I said, yeah, I'm sure. Here, take it. He obviously loves to skate, so he needs it. So she was super stoked on that, and we created a relationship based off of me giving her that board. And, you know, it was something small like that are little gifts that you don't really see the big picture of why you're doing it, but you feel led to do it. And so I did that. And we start meeting up at the skate park, and I start kind of skating with Blaine. And then, you know, all of a sudden we're sitting around and she's going through a transition in her job career, that allowed her to have the thought of starting a skateboard company and investing in a skateboard company. And I guess her seeing my drive and connection to the whole skate scene here in Texas, you know, gave her the thought of approaching me. So, I'd always told her my, you know, thoughts on my future and how I feel led to start a skateboard company. And, you know, weeks go by and, she looks at me one day when we're skating and she goes, you know what? You starting a skateboard company is definitely something that's going to happen. I can just see it happening in your future. So don't be that guy that always says, I'm going to. Why don't you do it? And conversation starts about it. And, you know, a few months later, we're walking up into the courthouse and we're signing up a DBA for Now Skateboards. So, yeah, 5 years after I made a super transition in my life, here comes the gift that I was told when I made the decision that there was going to be some things that were dreams of mine that were going to come true if I decided to get sober and to make the right decisions. And definitely Now Skateboards is one of those, for
Tell
sure.
Me about
and so
some of the other gifts that have come true for you, that other things that you were shown or you were told would happen. Tell me about the things that have happened, some of the other things. Just give me some other examples. And then I want to make sure we talk about, you know, the choice to use the word now to name your company.
Oh, yeah, that was wild. So, you know, I do know that after my divorce, I was in a mode where I needed to get my act together. I needed to start this new life and to not go out hunting for a woman that's gonna be this, that, and the other. That I needed to stay focused on myself and building the fatherhood and my life with my son, and that you know, an awesome woman would be a gift. So I'm in that position right now where I've got an awesome girl that understands me and can relate to me and is something very special that was given to me as a gift, just like a child's a gift from God. I mean, it's something that some people might take for granted, and you know, I took for granted when I actually received the gift of a child. And you start to find out that there's a reason for everything. So yeah, I've got an awesome woman in my life that was a gift, straight from the Creator, as it was designed to be. And then as far as now, you know, we were contemplating the name, and so I've got a knack for marketing, and I knew that we needed to have a simple name that was going to stick in everybody's head, and it was always kind of like my vision to have a 3-letter name that was going to be perfect for the company. So we're sitting there and we've got all these names on a piece of paper, and I mean, literally 50 names. And, you know, a lot of them Clancy came up with, we wrote down. A lot of them I came up with and we wrote down. we wanted to go with art, A-R-T. Skateboarding's art. It's not a sport. A lot of people will relate it to sports. However, I don't sit here and wait for somebody to throw me a ball to win or lose a game. I don't have a referee telling me what not to do and then blowing the whistle if I do it. You know, I have a relationship with my skateboard, and it's a one-on-one deal, and that's what art is. It's a one-on-one thing with that creator and his passion. So so we're sitting here and we're thinking art. So we start getting designs done for the logo, and we are really stoked on the name, and we're thinking that it's gonna you know, really stand out in the skateboard community. And further research showed me that there's somebody that owns art skateboards in a different country that is actually producing furniture made out of skateboards, and it's skateboard art, and he just owns the website artskateboards.net. So he didn't buy all the domain names, so I thought we were for sure a go. And then further research shows me that, nope, you can't use that name. So I was like, oh, man, back to the drawing board. So we're going through all these other names on this list, and we eventually get like everything scratched out, but now sitting in the center. And Clancy and I kind of look at each other, and we're kind of like, did you come up with that name? And I was like, no, I think I came up with the name. And we couldn't figure out who came up with it, but either way, all of the names that we had on this piece of paper were scratched out, and now it's just prominent sitting there right in the middle. So it really goes to show that things are put in your life, and they're designed to be there. And you know, it's if it's created and it's put there, then it's a gift. And so, yeah, we started doing research no one's ever thought of doing now, skateboards. It's really an opportunity for us to send a message out. We don't have like a style, like as far as our team has a niche, whether they're Hesh or Fresh is kind of what the skateboard industry calls style. You know, you've got your Hesh guys that are the long-haired, you know, really rugged style skateboarder, and then you got the Fresh guy with the tight jeans on and the poloed out style that's real smooth. We've got a mixture on our team, and our whole message is the opportunities now. Whatever you want to do, whatever trick you got up your sleeve, don't wait for it. You know, yesterday is the past, and tomorrow's not really guaranteed. So all you really have is now. And we went and signed up the name, and we're going to blow this company up. And now is a message for anybody that really doesn't even skateboard. Now is shared by all of us. We're all stuck in now. That's like that one thing that we all share together that isn't going to be altered. We're always in now, but is always changing. So it's a super good message just to relate to people.
Well, and you know, that's, you know, I think especially now, to use the word, in the life that we live, where we're inundated with so much media, and we all have screens, and you know, I know everybody talks about this, but I'm sure 100 years ago, people had 1,000 chickens to feed, and you had to water the hogs or whatever. Yeah. So there's always a reason, since people were around, that we're distracting ourselves from being present and sitting, you know, in the now. And so I love that, because, you know, I taught a vision boarding class at the beginning of the year, and my intention for the class was one of the things I set and put on my vision board was to be present. And I have a hummingbird mind, and I run a business, and I'm writing a book, and I have 4 children, and I'm, you know, all of these things. And so being present is a huge struggle for me, but it's something that I've really worked on. And so I loved, you know, when you told me this story when we got together the first time about now, and about, you know, not worrying about tomorrow, and yesterday's over. And it's like, what are you going to do with what you got sitting in front of you this second? And I love that you guys did that. I think it's beautiful. I think it's a beautiful name.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we both were sitting there like, did you come up with it? and did you come up with it? It was really weird. We couldn't figure out who came up with it, but we went and we shook hands, and we're gonna do this, and we're gonna do it now.
Yeah, yeah. And so talk a little bit, because I know you've told me, and since I don't understand the skateboard world real super thoroughly, about, I know there's something about, this being a Texas company, because it's usually, you've said, like in California or whatever, nobody's ever started a board company out of Texas. So tell me about what y'all are doing and how you're doing it different, that kind of...
Well, I mean, people have started board companies out of Texas. Okay. Actually, Zorlac was out of here back in the day, and was huge. Texas used to be on the map as far as Jeff Phillips and what he did for the skateboarding community here in Texas. He had a skate park in Dallas, and he was a huge pro, competing against Tony Hawk and Christian Asoy and everybody back in the 80s.
I do remember that from middle school. I remember.
Yeah, yeah. So, and it was crazy, because after he passed, he killed himself. He took an opportunity, and he made a choice that was ultimately devastating, and it put a dark cloud over Texas skateboarding for years. Which that cloud has dissipated now. But it took many years for this Dallas-Fort Worth scene to get over it. And, it was, okay, so he sold the skate park before he passed to a guy named Chuck, which was a rollerblader. And Chuck didn't have anything together. Chuck was a mess. Chuck lived in an RV behind the skate park. Barely made ends meet. He ended up having to go on the run for tax evasion and a lot. But he called it Rapid Revolutions. And it was actually my first job. I worked there when Ty Kabaya worked there and John Comer worked there. But I was the 16-year-old that was just legal to work, and I was paid next to nothing to check people in for attendance, to skate the skate park, put a wristband on them, and to clean up the dog mess all over the park. Mog the dog just kind of walked around. It was Brian's dog, which was his business partner, and him and Chuck ran the place into the ground. It ended up having to shut down. But so that's kind of the history on Texas skateboarding. So when I told you the story, it was kind of like there's been no big skateboard company to come out from those years ever since Zorlac. And that's, now those guys that rode for that company and that have put all that back together is actually Embassy Skateboards, and they're based out of California now.
So what you're telling me is you went from
forth.
Picking up dog poop in a skate park to having your own skateboard company. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a big transition. So what I'm getting at is, like Nevermind Skateboards is coming out of Houston. There's a lot of companies that are starting now that have the potential to be big. And now's one of them. And we're going to take this, to that bigger level of acceptance in the skateboard world, saying that we're from Texas, we're not going anywhere. We're based right out of Dallas-Fort Worth, and we're building a team, and we're gonna go the distance.
And you actually, and we're running out of time, and I wanted to get to this, so just real briefly, you actually quit your cushy bank job that you had and took the leap because you felt like Spirit called you to do that. So you quit your cushy, fancy bank job where you wore a tie every day to take the leap and kind of take over this company. And I know it's been a little bit of a challenge, but that's something that you've done, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was there was transitions in between that. I mean, I used to be a loan officer for a bank. I've always been in sales. I was in sales here about this time last year before we actually made the move to decide to do that. So now I'm on a flexible schedule. I'm actually driving for Uber and, using my car to transport people back and forth from bars and
Yeah.
kind of a little angel on wheels here, so to speak. I do the airport trips, and I take people pretty much wherever they need to go that don't have a vehicle to get where they're going at the moment.
And that frees you up to do other stuff.
So yeah, I was actually, put in this position to be able to not be on a schedule and to do all these events that Now Skateboard's partnering up to do with other various companies in the area, skate parks and Cross-Eyed Skates, which is a Christian company out of McKinney. So yeah, we're definitely partnering up with a bunch of skate parks around here and holding events. And being in the position I am with work right now is just enabling me to be able to do my calling and to partner up with these events that I wouldn't be able to do.
Gorgeous.
Sit at a bank or with the other jobs that I've had to deal with over the time.
All right. Well, we are totally out of time, but I really appreciate you telling your story to me and to everybody that's listening today. People can, I know, check you out at nowskateboards.com. They can also check you out. They can find you on Facebook and on Instagram. Josh Hurley, Hurley. If you're local and you need skateboard lessons for your kids, or if you're interested in any of the events that Now is hosting, that's how you find it. Josh, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate you.
Welcome.
And this is Clear Source Radio, and we'll be back next week with Jill Harper of Sailor Photography, talking about photography and how it can transform your life and preserve your memories. So thanks a bunch, and we'll catch you next time.